Welcome to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25 Media. We feature top founders, executives, and business leaders from all over the world.
Chad Franzen here, co-host for this show where we feature top restaurateurs, investors, and business leaders. This is part of our SpotOn Series. SpotOn has the best-in-class payment platform for retail, and they have a flagship solution called SpotOn Restaurant, where they combine marketing, software, and payments all in one. They've served everyone from larger chains like Dairy Queen and Subway to small mom-and-pop restaurants. To learn more, go to SpotOn.com. This episode is brought to you by Rise 25. We help B2B businesses to get ROI, clients, referrals, and strategic partners through Done For You podcasts. If you have a B2B business and want to build great relationships with clients, referral partners, and thought leaders in your space, there's no better way to do it than through podcasts and content marketing. To learn more, go to rise25media.com or email us at support@rise25media.com. Jayson Siano is founder and CEO of Sabre Real Estate Advisors and the founder of the CRE Digital Army. He is a nationally recognized thought leader and content creator in the commercial real estate, retail, and digital media spaces. He is a highly sought-after advisor to many founders and C-suite executives to help them scale their businesses across the U.S. and beyond. Jayson, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
Thank you so much, Chad. Appreciate the opportunity.
So tell me about Sabre Real Estate Advisors and more about what you guys do.
Yeah, for sure. So we're a national advisory firm that represents dozens of tenants and essentially designs and executes their national rollout strategies. In addition to the advisory side of the business, we have a more traditional commercial real estate brokerage team that functions primarily through the New York metro area as well as Florida.
Okay, so I know you work with, this is kind of a restaurant-oriented show, so I'll kind of gear my questions around that. I know you work with brands like Starbucks and Taco Craft. How does your relationship work with them, and what kinds of things do you do for them?
Yeah, so, Starbucks was one of my first clients in the business, represented Starbucks for about 18 years, doing hundreds of locations throughout New York and New Jersey. Starbucks hires and engages local brokers that are best in class and understand every inch of that market, which is very different, obviously, than representing kind of emerging brands, restaurant groups like Taco Craft, where they're national representatives. So we'll use, what we call the art and the science, a lot of AI technology, in order to design a rollout strategy that takes into consideration not only the demographics, but the psychographics and void analysis and where, concepts will thrive as a result of their core audience, et cetera. So two very different types of clients. I brought Chipotle to Long Island, New York many years ago. We're very well versed in the restaurant hospitality side of the business. And we love the space. It's been good to us.
Where I live in Colorado, there's like a Starbucks on every corner. Is there a different philosophy when it comes to real estate for a brand like that as opposed to maybe a emerging brand?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, Chipotle is born out of your backyard, right? So another great example of a concept that's practically on every corner, but people probably consume more coffee than burritos. So having said that, yes, Starbucks is, I mean, they're one of the few tenants that can practically go in every single town in the US, right? And at this point are for the most part in every single town in the US. So there's not many Starbucks in this world, right? That's the QSRs, the McDonald's, the Wendy's, the Burger Kings. Starbucks has achieved that. Chipotle, it's funny, when I started working directly with Steve Ells back in 2004, I remember vividly the conversations that we would have in Qdoba's and other, restaurant concepts before Chipotle was in the market that we were working on their behalf. And we would talk about things like, lunch, dinner, parking, right? Steve and the team in the suburbs, this was a suburban market outside of New York City. And those were the most important things to Chipotle. when we would talk about the idea of going, into a mall or exterior mall locations at that time, Steve would talk about it as if that would never happen, right? And the core audience of Chipotle in their mind at that time was very much, men in suits and ties and the daytime office population. And back then, listening to them as like a recent college grad, I'm like, yeah, I'm sure plenty of people in suit and ties want to eat your food for lunch, but I would imagine there's definitely a lot of other folks that would love eating your food as well. And so many of the things that Chipotle early on said they wouldn't do, or thought who their customer was, changed over time, and they did all the things that I kind of thought that they would do as a young, naive, person who did not have as much experience as them. So it's funny because when we started working with concepts of any size and nature, the first thing we want to do is to really understand who they are and where they thrive. But we're going to challenge you. I'm not just going to listen to, exactly what you think is your audience, because as concepts grow and evolve and mature, the audience changes, right? Which is a big factor of what we do when we're designing strategies, whether it's the entire country or regional or local.
Sure. What had been your background prior to launching Sabre?
So I actually started in Long Island, New York, where I'm based. I started working for a boutique retail restaurant only brokerage firm, and landed the Starbucks account, landed the Chipotle account, and started to become a well-known entity in my market. And then the big firms started to knock. I interviewed with most of them and accepted a position in New York for CB Richard Ellis, January 2007. Had a 5-year contract heading right into the downturn. I called it an amazing port in the storm. And I really, I consider CBRE for me the grad school of my career, where I was able to really, be exposed to all different asset classes and then expand my geography. That's where I started to work first with concepts outside of New York Metro. And that's what spawned the idea for Sabre. I learned a lot at the small boutique firm that I worked for, and then I learned a lot at CBRE, and I learned that both of those places independently were not, in my opinion, the best way that a business could operate. So I decided to combine the best practices of both and create Sabre at the end of 2010.
What do you think made you, even as a young person, so able to work with big, huge brands like that?
I always, when I would pitch accounts, I would do all the work in advance of the pitch and show up as if I was already hired. So, I think I'm a relatively rare breed in this, brokerage advisory business, where I'm not just calling somebody asking if there's an opportunity. I'm reaching out, scheduling a meeting, and walking concepts through what I think they should do. And either they agree or they disagree, but they can't deny that I put in a lot more work than most people before I showed up.
When you had your instincts about Chipotle, what prepared you to have those instincts?
So I went to college at the University of Arizona, and I was visiting friends in Los Angeles in the early 2000s. And I was working remotely out of a FedEx Kinko's at the time, who later on would become a client. And I actually walked outside to make a phone call, and I was looking at this really unique storefront across the street, and it was Chipotle. And I left all my things on my desk, and I was like, I got to check this out. I walked across La Cienega Boulevard, and I walked into Chipotle for the first time. And the minute that I walked in, I was like, this is special. This is very unique. This is different, and I need to work with this company. So I went back into the FedEx, I grabbed my stuff, went across the street, sampled the menu, and that was one of the now many times that I've been fortunate enough to walk into a concept super early in their growth and get involved in their national strategy Orangetheory Fitness was another amazing one, not restaurant related, but happened to work with the founders of Orangetheory before they started Orangetheory and help them design their strategy for the country and whatnot. So very exciting.
So you were very well established by the time you started Sabre. Was there any kind of early growing pains?
Oh, there's growing pains every day. When you own a business and you're innovating, you're A/B testing things all day, every day. I'm an entrepreneur through and through. I thrive in the chaos, and it allows me to do what I do. If you're not an entrepreneur, I'm talking DNA wise, you don't last 11 years in building a advisory brokerage business from scratch. So lots of early stories, but how about COVID? I mean, that's not, we're still in that, and we're adjusting everything on a weekly and in some cases daily and hourly basis.
What would you say are some maybe changes or big adjustments that you have had to make because of COVID?
Fortunately for us, we really pushed hard nationally 5 years ago. Previous to that, we were doing a lot of our business was really New York Metro, and when COVID hit, obviously New York was a lot more affected than other markets. Now, fortunately for us, we operate in Manhattan and the outer boroughs, but we also operate in the suburbs surrounding New York City. And the folks that were in Manhattan kind of pushed out into those markets. So a lot of our New York business was still active, but it wasn't as active as Nashville, Tennessee, Tampa, Florida, Denver, Colorado, Arizona. So we were fortunate from that standpoint, but it was also, we kind of built systems and processes that we would organically grow, throughout the country, and our business would evolve over time. When COVID hit, it accelerated everything, and we had to kind of rebuild process in order to keep up. And that was probably the biggest adjustment. And then in addition to that, you're relying on historical data and growth of your business. And then obviously, businesses were shut down practically overnight. Our pipeline of deals was delayed, 6, 12, 18 months, and we're still working through all of that. So you have to adjust priorities and expenses and cash flow and things of that nature, projections. And, it's been a journey, man. It's been 2 years, and we're still not out of it. Unfortunately, New York City in Thanksgiving was jamming, and everything seemed to be back. And if you walk the streets in New York right now, it looks like it's the height of the pandemic.
Yeah, painful. You talked about the DNA of an entrepreneur. What are some characteristics that maybe an entrepreneur has in their DNA that somebody who's not doesn't?
Oh, just grit and determination to weather any storm. I think if you get into an entrepreneurial journey, first off, you don't really know what to expect, right? So for me, it's almost like I'm fortunate that I realized through the process that I'm built for this. But I'm also somebody who just, failure is just not an option. But I'm also not afraid to fail, right? So I try things because I know certain things are not going to work, whether I give it my all or my best. They're not going to work, and other things that I didn't necessarily think would work so well are going to. So you can't be somebody that has this, opinion that, you can't change and adapt, right? A lot of people think that if they did something that didn't work, you can't tell somebody that, well, now I'm going to try this, right? And a lot of people that don't really, in my opinion, have the DNA of an entrepreneur would be more, concerned with what others think, or failure to launch syndrome, where you want to get everything perfect before you get it off the ground. Those types of people would have a tougher time navigating the waters of being an entrepreneur, and not everybody's built for it.
Tell me about Sabre's new collaboration with Sirhan.
Yeah, sure. Super exciting. I mean, I set out on a journey to really enhance our media, digital marketing and media team uh, about 5, 6 years ago through a lot of guidance from Gary Vaynerchuk, who kind of, is the thought leader and guru on content creation and social media in business and personal brand. Um, Through Gary, I actually met Ryan at an event that well, actually, that's not how I met Ryan initially. They were doing an event together called Agent 2021 back in 2018, I want to say. And I had already met Ryan through a mutual friend, and I referred him some business, and we only at Sabre focus on commercial real estate. But we represent a lot of high net worth folks who are looking to buy homes and whatnot, and apartments. And so, when I met Ryan, he was we have a lot of similarities. He's really good at what he does, and he at that time actually didn't even have his vlog yet, but he, through Gary's influence, built his own vlog, which went on to do better than most television shows, essentially. And just watching what Ryan's able to do, I've always admired him. And the fact that we're on different sides of the real estate business, it was apparent to us over the years that there'd be ways for us to do business together. So yeah, so we're collaborating, and I'm helping leverage my network and in the residential space, and he's helping do the same on the commercial space. So we're excited about it.
I believe in early 2020, you launched the CRE Digital Army. Can you tell me about that and what led to that?
Yeah, for sure. So, well, the COVID kind of cloud where everything slowed down enabled me to, for the second time in my career, start a community that was collaborative in nature, that would help individuals, grow themselves both personally and professionally. I believe in collaboration. Commercial real estate is a very traditional dog eat dog business, especially on the brokerage side. And I think that that's backwards. I think that, folks who have a scarcity mindset are not going to thrive in this new world. And people who have an abundance mindset that believe there's enough to go around and don't see other commercial real estate brokers at other companies as competitors, but as lifelines and potential collaborators, like I do, as a major opportunity to grow. So, fortunately, it goes hand in hand with what Sabre does on the national side of our business, because we engage local brokers throughout the country. We represent, the company at the top and design and manage that relationship. And then we carry that out with best in class local brokers throughout the country. So it goes hand in hand. But the Digital Army is really a group of like-minded people that are in the commercial real estate space and want to understand Web3, want to understand how to leverage social media, how to create content, and beyond that, a broker network essentially of folks that want to add value to each other and do more business.
Where did the spirit of collaboration come from, rather than just kind of kill or be killed type attitude?
I just always was somebody in business that knew that networking was such an important part of what I do. I also, along the way, realized that I was looking for excuses to write handwritten notes or holiday cards to not only existing clients, but to people that I wanted to do business with, right? Like Chipotle 2004, anything that I could do to get in front of somebody, I would do. But back to your initial question, I think collaboration is key in success in life. It's important to know people. At this stage of my life, I can go onto LinkedIn or most other social platforms, see somebody that I want to be introduced to, and get an introduction through somebody that I know based on my track record, credibility, and the fact that I'm going to add value. I don't think there's anybody who's met me in business that would say talking to me is a waste of time. That's because I work my tail off every day, day in and day out, to really be good at what I do and add value to others with no expectation in return.
What are a few of your your daily rituals that you find most important?
Yeah, I made a post on my Instagram earlier today. So I'm doing a mental toughness challenge called 75 Hard right now, and it's my second time doing it. You should look into it if you're interested in these types of things, and or if you just want to optimize your life and take things up a notch after the holidays and continuation of COVID. I'm like, I need something to take everything to the next level, which is what I do. I go through phases. I actually this morning, it's funny. So it's day 4 for me, 75 hard. Day 1, even though I did it already, I had a strategy in place that I realized right after the first day was not the right strategy. And day 2, I kind of figured it out and I think nailed it. And that strategy is there's 5 tasks that you need to do daily. I'm trying to get at least 3 of those tasks done before most people wake up in the morning. So, that's the answer to your question right there. If you can knock out those things before most people are out of bed, you're probably going to be successful.
So what time do you get started?
Not early enough. I'm up at 6 a.m. I need my sleep.
Sure. I believe 75.
The minute I get out of bed, though, I'm like at the gym, drinking my gallon of water, take my progress picture. And I would like to implement the reading, which is 10 pages a day. I saw where you were just going. I'd like to implement the reading in that morning program. So before I get into work mode, I have almost everything checked off. I literally just need to do my second workout of the day, which is a 45-minute outdoor workout.
What kind of outdoor workout do you like?
None of them in 17-degree weather. But I tend to, my favorite workout, since my morning workout is a gym weightlifting routine, strength training routine. My afternoon or evening workout is a weighted vest, brisk walk, jog.
Okay. Sounds good. I have one last question, but first, how can people find out more about you and Sabre and the CRE Digital Army?
Yeah, so the first place to learn more about me is my Instagram. I use it. That's the platform I use the most. It's Jayson Siano, JaysonSiano. That kind of can direct you everywhere else. Sabre is Sabre, SABRE.life. From that website, that also directs you everywhere else. I am super collaborative. I love speaking to people. I like helping people to a fault, where I spend a good amount of my time speaking with a lot of folks at all different stages of their life, whether they're in the commercial real estate, digital marketing, businesses or not. And I love hearing from people. It's exciting. I feel like at this stage of my career, 21 years in now, giving back is probably the most, it keeps my heart full. So that's why I do it.
Great. My last question, it may not be the best question since you just told me you're still trying to fit reading into your schedule. Do you have any favorite books or podcasts or things like that you have found valuable or enjoyable?
Yeah, of course. So I'm reading for 75 Hard. I'm reading Chasing Ultra by Rich Roll. Is it Finding Ultra or Chasing Ultra? I think it's Chasing. And I have a book teed up called Relentless, which so many people have told me is an amazing read. I have a bookshelf behind me and a bookshelf at home of a ton of books that I could recommend. If anybody wants more information on books I'd recommend, DM me, email me, and I'm happy to talk about them. Grit from Angela Ducksworth is probably an amazing book for entrepreneurs. But podcasts, listen, Gary Vaynerchuk has inspired me a lot and taught me a lot that has benefited me both professionally and personally. And then I have to say, Andy Frisella's podcast, which used to be called the MF CEO, and I forget what it might just be, the Andy Frisella show at this point, but he's the founder of 75 Hard and First Forum, and a lot of his philosophies I tend to lean towards and gravitate to. I've learned so much from Andy and other folks like him. I'm just always trying to be a better person today than I was yesterday in all aspects of my life. So those are two great ones right there.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for those recommendations. Hey, Jayson, it's been a great pleasure to talk to you. I really appreciate your time today. Thanks so much.
Of course, Chad. Likewise. Thanks so much.
So long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25. Visit rise25.com to check out more episodes of the show and to learn more about how you can start your own podcast.